International policy. She's also the host of the Iran podcast, joining us live from Washington, D.C. Negar, we're less than 2 hours away now from the U.S. reimposing that blockade on Iranian ports. How is this going to affect Iran?
Well, it seems like we're back to the hot conflict again, with escalation on both sides, step by step. And I think how we're ending up here is essentially the MOU not really holding. From the Iranian viewpoint, the U.S. has violated many parts of the MOU, major parts, key parts. Ending the war on all fronts, including Lebanon, wasn't implemented. Coordinating traffic through Hormuz with Iran was violated. Et cetera, et cetera. And so the conflict is starting. It's going to be painful for the Iranian side, of course. The blockade is going to have economic impacts, very serious, as the war has had. It's also going to be painful for the U.S. I mean, any kind of conflict in the Strait of Hormuz by any side is just going to impact the global market, which has really put a lot of pressure on President Trump. Essentially, that's what brought him to the MOU and pushed him towards that final peace deal. But now, I guess, he's forgotten about that, and it's unraveled, and we're back to escalation and potentially back to the neighbors also paying a heavy cost for all of this, and then the global markets, of course.
Negar, you're saying this is going to be painful for Iran. The MOU seemed quite favorable to Iran, getting sanctions relief, lifting of that blockade, even a mention of Iran getting to decide the future running of the Strait of Hormuz together with Oman. So why did Iran decide to jeopardize this deal by firing on those vessels transiting the Strait in even Omani waters?
Right. So the MOU was actually too good for Iran and not very good for the U.S. And that's what President Trump kept hearing. So he signed the MOU, and then he started hearing a lot of criticism here in Washington from his own party and also from Democrats, essentially saying this is a great deal for Iran and the U.S. lost and it's a bad deal for Iran. And what happened is that slowly he tried to stretch the limits and the concessions of the MOU that he had signed on paper, tried to stretch it on the battlefield. So the Iranians wanted the war to end in Lebanon. It didn't end. Israel kept violating that point of the MOU. The Iranians said they will open the Strait of Hormuz free of charge, but they wanted coordination. The U.S. tried to forge open its own parallel path without coordination with Iran on the Omani side, which also, I think, endangered Oman as a country who's trying to stay neutral and is caught in between Tehran and Washington. And then the Iranians, I think at some point, they tolerated these violations, but they decided that, okay, this is just moving forward, the violations of the MOU, the lack of implementation, and if it goes like this, there's no point in moving towards that peace deal. So I think what they saw was essentially the U.S. walking back the MOU and going to the pre-MOU state. And their strategy is to escalate on the battlefield to try to push the U.S. back to the limits of the MOU and see if they can move towards that peace deal. But also in hindsight, your point is very valid. What the MOU promised in the future was so much bigger for Iran, but there's also the problem is a lack of trust. Like, how can they trust in the other side promising something down the line if what they see in front of them is being violated? That's really the thinking in Tehran.
But someone must have decided that this was the right call. Who made that call in Tehran? Is it Mojtaba Khamenei, who's still running the show, or is it Ghalibaf, Abbas Araghchi, or is it someone inside the IRGC that decided, you know what, we are going to strike these vessels?
It's everyone. So, unlike what is being pushed in Washington and by some hawks and the Israelis, that there's a lot of division in Iran and there's rogue elements making decisions on their own. It's not really like that. I mean, decision making is pretty streamlined. It's coming from the very senior, top echelons of power, the Supreme National Security Council in Iran, which includes the president, Pezeshkian. It includes the Speaker of Parliament, Ghalibaf, who is essentially running the country as basically equal to the president, if not a higher power. He's also the top negotiator. The top diplomat, Araghchi, is also involved. He is the person running the negotiations with the foreign ministry. And then, of course, the supreme leader. I mean, everything has to be signed off by the supreme leader. He may be reluctant. The messaging may be, sending a little mixed signals. But at the end of the day, decision making is coming with the IRGC, with the Speaker of Parliament, President, all of these senior officials, and then, of course, with the sign off of the supreme leader as part of the bigger strategy.
All right, that's Negar Mortazavi, a senior fellow at the Center for International Policy, live for us in Washington, D.C. Negar, thank you so much. Always good to have you on the program.
Thank you.